To finish up this look at the advanced features of ExifTool, let's take a quick look at the Perl API. This won't be anything like a thorough look at it. That would be a whole course by itself. And really, I'd be the wrong person to give it. It would take somebody who knows Perl a lot better than I do. This will be just a quick introduction. For a lot of things, you really don't have to use the Perl API at all. If what you're trying to do is control ExifTool and get results back from an application that you've written, then you can just invoke it and pass the execute, stay open, and @ arguments so that you can give it commands and read the information that it gives back to you. The advantage of this is that you don't have to know anything about the Perl API, obviously. All you have to know is the command line and the arguments file. It also means that you can use any programming language to do this. You aren't restricted to Perl. The disadvantages are that it's not quite as fast, and there may be a few things that you can't do without actually getting into the Perl API. If you need to, you can call ExifTool as a Perl library. It lets you call it in object-oriented mode or procedure-oriented, whichever programming style you prefer. If all that you have to do is get information out of files, get tags from files, then all you have to do might be to call the image_info function, and then process the information that you get back in any way that you like. If you're modifying files, then you also need to know about the setNewValue function, which lets you set the value of tags. And then when you've changed everything that you want to change, you use the writeInfo function to write everything back out to the file. There are a lot of functions that help you out with image_info to get at the tags and work with them. Functions like getFoundTags, getTagList, and getValue. Another useful function is setNewValuesFromFile, which lets you copy information from one file into another. I've already talked about the configuration file and parts of the API that uses. You can do things there like setting options and defining new tags. If you're like me, Perl isn't your favorite programming language. To tell the truth, I think that Perl is a rather horrible programming language, but ExifTool is written in it, and it's a very complicated program, and it works, so I can't complain too much about it. But if you want to use some other language, there are libraries that you can use. Most of them, probably all of them, use the command line version and invoke it with execute and stay open and @ rather than trying to bridge the gap between the languages directly. So they won't get you the efficiency gain that using the Perl library would, but they can get you the advantage of being able to use your own programming language. I've run into a couple that are Java libraries, and they seem to have been written a while ago and then abandoned. So you do have to look at whatever library you find and make sure that it really works and that it's going to be usable and reliable. One that should be usable and reliable is the C++ library, which Phil Harvey wrote and, as far as I can tell, still maintains. This has some nice features. It lets you create multiple ExifTool objects, and it lets you invoke them asynchronously, so that you can get really efficient use out of them. Thanks for sticking it out to the end of the advanced topics, or at least for sticking it out through this lecture. You've seen that ExifTool has some really powerful features. So read the documents, ask me any questions you have, and use the power wisely. Just in covering the basics of ExifTool, this course has gone over quite a lot of material. So this lecture is just to review the central concepts one more time to help make sure that you haven't missed anything. The most central concept, of course, is the tag. A tag stands for any kind of metadata. It could be something in the file, or it could be a property of the file, such as its name or its file size. A tag in the command line is preceded by a hyphen, and it's case independent, You can enter it as all lowercase, all uppercase, or mixed case, and it doesn't have any spaces in it. An option looks just like a tag, but options are different. Options are instructions to exiftool to do certain things. If exiftool doesn't recognize the string after a hyphen as an option, then it assumes it's a tag. And if it can't find a tag by that name, then it just doesn't do anything with it. Some tags stand for multiple data, for lists of data, and there are exiftool operations that allow you to add to a list or remove items from a list. Some tags have numeric values as they're stored in the file, and exiftool will turn some of these into explanatory text to make it easier to read the information. If you want to see the actual numeric values, then you can use the option --printconv. Tags are organized in groups. Groups reflect the internal structure of the metadata. For instance, there's a group for exif. There's a group for xmp. Sometimes the same tag name will show up in more than one group. If you want to make sure that you've got the right tag, then you can specify group:_tag. There are also shortcut tags, which shouldn't be confused with groups. A shortcut tag represents a set of tags. For instance, common and all are shortcut tags, and you don't use a colon after those. To assign a value to a tag, you use -tag equals value, with no spaces around the equal sign. If the value itself has spaces, or other funny characters that might confuse the command line interpreter, then you have to enclose the value in quotes. If you put nothing to the right of the equal sign, then that says to delete that tag from the file. The operator += has several different meanings. It can mean to add a numeric value, which can be either positive or negative. It can be used to add to a date-time value. Or it can be used to add a value to a list of values. The operator -= can be used to subtract from a date-time value, but not from a numeric value. And it can be used to remove an item from a list if a value in the list exactly matches what's to the right of the equal sign. Now let me just repeat again. The PDF resource files are very important. Please download them so that you've got all the information that you need about how to use exiftool. Now, if you've gotten enough out of the course at this point that you can do what you want, then that's great. But I hope you'll hang around to the advanced part, because now we'll get into some of the really exciting stuff you can do with exiftool. Let's look now at using exiftool to copy tags between files. This is quite a powerful feature. You can use it if you want to clone tags from one file to another. Or you can use it if you have some metadata that you want to copy into a whole bunch of files. Maybe, for instance, you want to put the same author credits into every file in the directory. You can use exiftool to copy tags from one data file to another, or you can use it to copy tags into what's called a sidecar file, a file that consists only of metadata. It supports several different sidecar formats. If you're dealing with XMP metadata, for instance, then you might want to create an XMP sidecar file. But the most general one is the MIE format, Meta Information Encapsulation, which is a binary format that can hold any kind of metadata. So if you don't have a specific need for a particular metadata format, you're best off using MIE for your sidecar files. To copy tags, you use the Tags from File option. Normally, you go from a source file to a destination file. You can either copy from one existing data file to another, from one JPEG to another, for instance, Or you can create a new sidecar file, or copy to an existing sidecar file. You can also copy a set of files. You can copy tags from one set of files to another set, or create a new set of sidecar files. And you can even copy between files of different formats, as long as the metadata are compatible. To copy tags between files, you specify the Tags from File option, followed by a source and destination file. In this example, we've just created an MIE file, copying the tags from the JPEG file into it. We run exiftool on the MIE file now, and we'll see that it has all of those tags. But we can't use tags from file to copy to a new JPEG file. We can only do it to create a sidecar file, like an MIE file. If we try with a JPEG file, we get an error. You can restrict tags using the usual exiftool conventions. You can specify tags or groups to include, in which case it will include only those. If you want to copy just the XMP tags, then you do it like this, specifying the XMP group. You have to put the tag qualifier after the source file. Now we can take a look at the XMP file we just created. And there's lots of stuff in it. You can also exclude tags using --" tag. You can create a sidecar file just with tags specified in the command line. You don't use tags from file in this case, since there's no source file, and you use the -o option to specify the output file. Here we're adding creator and rights tags and creating a file called mydata.xmp. Now we can look at that file with exiftool, and we'll see that it has some standard metadata as well as the tags we just created, the creator and rights tags at the end. Now you could add all the tags from that file to all your JPEG files, specifying star.jpg as the destination. And we see it just updated 5 image files. Now, what if you want to create a sidecar file for each file in a directory? exiftool offers a nice trick with file name patterns. %d in the destination file signifies the directory of the original file. %f is the name of the file without the period and extension. There's also %e, which we don't use in this example, which is the extension. When you use this technique, you don't use the tags from file option, but instead you need to use the -o option to specify the output file pattern. And here we went up a directory level so we could run the command on the exiftool test directory. Now we list the directory and see we've created an XMP file for each of the JPEG files. Make sure to download and read the PDF so you have all of these command options at hand, as well as some others that I haven't mentioned here.
Конец. Конец.